All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the War Report podcast, brought to you by TagMeADate. Um, I'm flying solo right now. Don't quite know when everybody else is going to jump in. Steve is working late. He may or may not be able to jump in. I don't know about everybody else. I guess we'll see. Otherwise, it's just going to be your boy here talking some wrestling. So here's the deal. Royal Rumble was Saturday. I usually say Sunday, but in fact, it is Saturday. And I'm still not used to it at all. Oh, Steve is here. I almost pressed the kick Steve from thing button. Excuse me. All right,
Don't
we're
kick my
adding
ass, huh?
Steve. Oh, how's it going, buddy?
It's going, man. I saw you were solo for a minute, so I figured let me jump on real quick. I apologize. Last day of the month in the car business, so I got to be
Hey,
at
man,
the office, but
I already know.
I have a
I
quick
already
minute.
know.
Yeah, it's
Excellent.
rough.
So,
but I
yeah.
got a quick minute, and I
Great.
just want to give my my overview real quick, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
go for it. So
Um,
we're going to talk Royal Rumble. Hey, what's up, Facebook user? I hope that's somebody we recognize, and if it's not, welcome to the new person. Let's see here. Here we go. Royal Rumble. I'll put up the thing. There we go.
There you go. So I think it was a decent Rumble. I think there were some disappointments. No Rock, no Austin. There were really no big surprises. Nia Jax doesn't really impress me as a big surprise. Booker T, we heard rumblings that was going to happen. Edge, we heard rumblings. Like, there was just no big, which is
Right.
what I've been saying. And that's always my thing. Like, the Rumble, like, that's what you look for. But overall,
100%.
I'm happy with the winners. I think Rhea, very well deserved, especially being number one and working it all the way through. Cody, I mean, we all said it. If Rock and Austin weren't in it, Cody was winning.
Right.
So now we got to see how that's going to go. But the biggest takeaway from the Rumble was after the Roman and Owens match, where it finally happened to where you had 51,000 strong chanting "fuck you, Roman," and then to have Jay walk out on the bloodline.
Right.
There's just, every time we close a layer, we add more layers to the greatest storyline, quite possibly in wrestling history. It's just the execution, everything about it. Sammy just the emotion in his face. You were just so captivated with everything and just wanting everything for Sammy. And now I think almost Cody versus Roman at Mania is not what people want at this point. People are happy Cody won, but I think you need Sammy. And do you make it a triple threat at Mania? Let's have Kevin Owens versus Sammy versus Cody versus Roman. You could go the tag route, but then who's Sammy teaming with? Is he teaming with Jay?
Right. Is he teaming with Jay against the other Uso and then Solo?
Right.
Sikoa.
There's just so many avenues that can be done. So it's going to be very interesting to see where this all plays out. I really hate that this is the episode that I have to miss after the Rumble because there's so much to talk about. But Eric is on. I have a customer waiting, so I am going to go. But have a great show. I'll catch the replay, and I will see you guys next week.
Tag out.
All right, man. Take care. Go sell that sports package.
You already know.
All right. Well,
and Eric tags in.
Perfect timing. You jumped in right when we needed you here. So Steve just kind of gave his brief rundown, really just of the men's Rumble, not really of the whole Rumble event. And all my stuff is going to be reset hopefully next week, so I don't have to keep doing this with the iPad. But anyway, the whole Royal Rumble, as Steve said, the event itself, pretty good. There were some down things or some weird choices, but to kick off with the men's Rumble, if you asked me,
lackluster, I thought.
I think so. Here's what I think. I think there were some good individual performances.
Definitely.
And I think it was a very athletic. It might be the most athletic Rumble we've ever had in terms of, like, I know Kofi missed his spot, but like the thing with Logan Paul and Ricochet and just some of the things they were doing in there.
And
it's
the fact
like
that Gunther lasted like how long he did, and
Gunther's the new Iron Man.
Yeah.
crazy that Gunther had such a run. And even at that point, Cody coming out at number 30, you're kind of like, oh man, I kind of wanted to see this number 1 guy go all the way.
I mean, there was some cool shit like Edge coming back. Booker T is always a nice thing to to see.
But right, there weren't any really true Royal Rumble surprises.
Surprises, yeah.
Which is what I look forward to. And again, here's the thing: it was such a. I almost thought Cody wasn't going to win because they telegraphed it so much with the video packages and the this and the that. I was like, they're going to swerve us. They got to. And so, unfortunately, in what was a predictable Rumble with him winning, we didn't get unpredictability. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been a little unpredictability in there leading up to him winning would have been,
Okay, let me ask you a question. How do you feel about the fact that a Rumble match did not end the show?
You couldn't do a Rumble after what happened because... So here,
I guess it's,
I kind of did all the math in my head about this, so hear me out here. I was trying to think.
It's almost like when the 94 Rumble, when the Undertaker got, killed off, basically.
Right. Because here's the problem.
Follow that.
Exactly. It's a big angle with the world champion. You can't really follow it. But here's the other thing. If they put that Rumble last after the Roman thing and Cody wins, he's getting fucking booed. Because after that, like, Cody was the guy everybody wanted to see in the main event of WrestleMania against Roman for about 3 hours. And then that shit at the end of the night happened. And honestly, it could go, for me, it should be Sammy or it should be Jay. Or maybe throw both of those, because both of them have legit reasons to want to get back at Roman so far.
That is such an amazing thing in that the whole Jey Uso thing. Because just like Steve was just saying, just when you think you have an idea of how this is going to go, there's another chink in the armor in this bloodline storyline. It's awesome.
Oh yeah,
I have an idea of how this is going to go. Mm-hmm. Right? It's probably going to end up the way that anybody was kicked out of the Horsemen or the NWO, very much like that, where there's trust, and then something happens. So, like, for instance, let's say Elimination Chamber. They did. So I think the Chamber matches, like the men's, is going to be for the U.S. title, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So therefore, hey Ryan.
What's up?
Therefore, I think what's going to happen is it's going to be Roman versus Sammy for the title, right? In Roman's corner is the bloodline, except for Jay, right? Now, here's what I think. They say nothing about Jey Uso, right? Except that he's not in the bloodline anymore. That's
right. He said he's out.
Right. So as far as like Roman and the bloodline go, he's out. That's it. He walked out and then whatever. So I say, okay.
Ryan, are you crinkling something? You got to mute your mic there.
I apologize.
Yeah, I did.
No problem.
So I think that there's going to be something where either the SmackDown before or the day of,
mm-hmm.
the bloodline's going to beat the shit out of Kevin Owens, and he's not going to be able to make it, right, to the match. Mm-hmm. Sammy brings out Jey Uso in his corner instead. Then the match goes down. Jay turns, obviously, and the bloodlines reformed. It was a swerve the whole time.
Right, it's Montreal. They're going to screw Sammy in Montreal.
And and then it leads to Sammy and Kevin Owens versus to take the belts off of the Usos at WrestleMania, while Cody possibly takes the world title from Roman.
I mean, it just boggles my mind that they think, I understand Cody was a WWE guy for a long time, so he was welcomed back pretty easily. But just to think that, I don't know, man, you would think the guy that takes down Roman Reigns shouldn't be the same age. It should be a younger, you know what I mean? Like, Cody and Roman are going to retire around the same time. You would think you'd want the guy like Braun Breaker or someone like that to do it. Or even like, I don't know. Cody says this thing about finishing the story, and I understand but the story is the bloodline story.
Yeah, and there's, let's face it, there's no guarantee that Cody's walking away with the belt.
No, there's never any guarantee. With Roman Reigns in the match, I mean, the only thing that I can think of is that's when, if the bloodline all turns or walks out on him at that moment, then that's when, or they attack him or whatever, and then Cody wins. But then it's not, I don't know. You have to, if you're putting somebody over Roman, it's kind of got to be clean to an extent. I don't know.
Another thing they can do to make this bloodline thing interesting is do a thing where it's Jay versus Jimmy, right?
Mm.
And whoever
yeah, they could go that route.
Gets a hold of the tag belts,
right,
and gets to pick their own partner, kind of like the Wolfpack did.
I can see that.
Like when Kevin Nash won and he picked Sting as his partner.
Oh yeah,
kind of like that.
I could definitely see something like that. I mean, we don't know, man. It's the
I mean, for all we know, we could end up seeing Sammy and Jey Uso as the tag team champions.
Very possible. Very possible. So, yeah, I don't know. The Rumble, the men's Rumble, I think was good, albeit predictable. The real show-off performance was Gunther. Logan Paul showed out. For as much as, he's a controversial internet figure or whatever, the man is doing his thing out there.
We did get teases of Gunther against Brock. We
or
have the Brock
Bobby Lashley
Brock going on. We have Seth Rollins somewhere in the mix.
Seth is potentially going against Logan Paul now for WrestleMania, which is kind of, man, if you're Seth, are you looking at Cody main eventing WrestleMania and you're fighting Logan Paul as like a demotion, or like, why am I below this guy that just came back last year and has spent half his time on the active roster injured?
Right. And then are they going to end up doing who the hell? Oh, Seth versus Cody at the Chamber,
right? Or Vengeance Day or some other shit, or Backlash,
or you could set up a future program for the title.
Right. I mean, that's a pretty built-in one because they've already got this rivalry going.
I just wanted to jump because it's somewhat related. I wanted to jump to the Women's Rumble because there's a lot of similarities in that Dominic was a big part of the men's. Mm-hmm. And the whole Rhea Ripley thing, and then there's Edge and Beth Phoenix and the whole thing. So I'm very confused about how Beth fits into this. Rhea won the Rumble, right? I think she go from number one?
She went from number one, and Liv was number two, and they were the last two competitors.
Yeah, so that happens, and so we're all cool with Rhea winning. Many of us predicted it, right?
Yeah.
Problem is, and I don't, not necessarily a problem, but Beth comes back. So how and when do you resolve the Beth thing if Rhea's pretty much going on to Mania and probably winning the title?
I'd say a Chamber.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be like a mixed tag, like Dominic and Rhea against Edge and Beth. And then, like, if Dominic gets pinned, who cares?
Maybe Edge and Beth win, but it doesn't take away from Rhea, like her,
right? As long as she doesn't get pinned, she's good for sure. And so that's one way around.
You got to lead to Dominic versus Ray at Mania if Ray is
if he's because he was legitimately taken out of the Rumble with an injury, no idea, and they turned it into a storyline.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I'm gonna put this up. You see the Jay Briscoe celebration of life yesterday, Mark Briscoe. Yeah, so that if you're. And that was from Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, if you're looking to further celebrate Jay Briscoe, that's the thing to do. They have the whole service up there. It started with a 10-bell salute, and there was several eulogies. One of them by his brother. I mean, it's it's an incredible thing that Mark was able to even get through and do the things he did. It's just incredible that he's able to soldier forward, and the whole family has to soldier forward after this. So definitely check it out. It is still up on YouTube. I believe the Jay Briscoe Ring of Honor thing is already uploaded. I believe that was uploaded like last week, like last Wednesday at 1 a.m. or Thursday at 1 a.m. So I think that's up if you want to see another tribute. And of course, Mark Briscoe wrestling in the main event last week was just, that was.
And regarding Ring of Honor, specifically, is there a possibility? And I don't want it to come off like like
Well,
the way they did stuff with Ray and Eddie after Eddie died, but do you foresee a possibility of Mark Briscoe going for the Ring of Honor World Title and winning it?
he might. I mean, I think he might definitely challenge for it. I don't know
I
if
mean,
he'll win it.
whether Jay was here with us or not, I think Mark Briscoe is still a good candidate for a world title run in Ring of Honor anyway.
Yeah, oh for sure, because Jay was Ring
had
of
it,
Honor
yeah.
champion a couple times, and yeah, I think Mark is just and I don't know. They just complemented each other so well as a tag team, and their personalities complemented each other. And Mark is just when you look at Jay and you look at Mark, you know that they're related, but like they're just such a different style of wrestling and everything. Like Mark Briscoe has that redneck kung fu, and he does all this other stuff. It's pretty cool. They don't wrestle exactly like each other. They wrestled like brothers, and they complement each other. But yeah,
again,
man.
I don't want it to come off as cheap, like it's like the whole
Right.
Rey
after Eddie
Mysterio.
Guerrero.
It can't just be like Rey Mysterio's run was just a Eddie tribute run.
Yeah.
If Mark wins it, it can't just be, hey, remember Jay Briscoe. It has to be he's defending the title and beating people. He has to challenge people and beat them and not kind of like Ray's reign because they never really invested him because he was so small. He would get
this.
Yeah, but with Ray, there were a lot of DQs and countouts and screwy finishes where he'd keep the title, even though it was like, he kind of got the shit beat out of him. So, like, they never really made him look good as the world champion.
Also didn't help.
They
took
did not.
world heavyweight, the heavyweight part of the title.
Yeah, they took heavyweight out for a couple months there.
They had they had him look like. I wish they would have booked him like in WCW as the Giant Killer.
I know that would
He got
would be the way to go.
Bam Bam Bigelow, Kevin Nash, and the Giant.
Yeah, and it was just like it was one of those things where like the little guys like him and Kidman could like reverse the power bomb into a pin and stuff like that. There were ways to make Ray's run better.
But that would require Vince wanting to push Ray.
Hey, you remember you're right. Back then it was Vince, and like now it's Triple H. But no, back then it was definitely Vince.
But then it's funny. It kind of reminds me how when Crash Holly came out with the scale and said he was like 400 pounds. Like that was a funny.
That was a good gimmick.
Character.
Oh, for sure. Do you want to talk about? We'll do it very briefly. There
weren't really surprises that much in the women's rumble either.
No.
Chelsea Green was kind of expected. Nia was a surprise, but
Nia was a surprise.
Really
Chelsea was one of those expected surprises.
Not really a welcome surprise, but
yeah. Michelle McCool was in the audience.
That was kind of cool that she was in the audience and with her kids, and then
But could you imagine? Then she gets thrown right out of the ring, and the kids are like, "Mommy, what the fuck happened?"
She actually, had a good showing in the time that she was in it.
In UGG boots, as they kept saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
better than Booker T's showing in the men's rumble.
Booker T didn't even want to take the over the top rope bump. He went through the middle rope.
Yeah.
They still counted it as eliminated. Yeah, he went through the middle rope.
I mean, really, when Booker T comes back, all you really want to see at this point is a spinneroonie, and once he's accomplished that, that's really
and then you're right. Yeah, that's the end of the day for that.
Winning it. It's not like when Edge won a couple of years ago or whatever.
Right. But the women's rumble was fine. It may have been one of the better women's rumbles. I feel like the first one was good, and then like there were a couple middle ones there that weren't so good.
I did appreciate Rhea Ripley's selling of Beth Phoenix attack earlier, and then going on and winning the whole thing from number one.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping, I was hoping that the injury wasn't going to be the excuse that they used to get her out of the Rumble so that she could face Beth Phoenix at WrestleMania, which I feel would be a huge waste of Rhea Ripley's talents. So I'm glad they went the way they did. There was a point where I was watching with some friends, and there was a point as soon as, like, we noticed a pattern of people coming in and hitting a big move on Rhea Ripley, so she had to, like, take a bump and stay down for a while. And we're like, oh, she's winning because they keep knocking her down. Like, she's never on her feet to be eliminated.
Yeah. Now, as of last night, Rhea said she's choosing Charlotte, right, for the title, for the
Yep.
SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania. Now, which leaves Bianca Belair's title, Raw title, up for grabs, and they're leading
The challenger's being decided at the Elimination
in the
Chamber,
right? Okay,
which
so
is a good use of the
who's in
chamber.
that so far? Asuka with the awesome Kana look, which is great.
Yes, that's the other one is Kana is the evil clown version
honestly,
of Asuka is back.
I'm hearing possibilities of her winning that and then going on to face Bianca at WrestleMania.
Oh, I think so. I think that's a good way
and
to
I'd
go.
be totally okay with that because I've been wanting Asuka to be back in the main event scene for quite some time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think it would be a great. It's the final four, I think, and then there's like 2 qualifier matches.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of them
are
are to be determined. Hey, sorry I'm late. It's all okay. It's all good. Love the new look. It's very temporary. My basement flooded a couple weeks ago. I'm just waiting for everything to get reset. I'll be back to my old similar setup in a week or so, I hope.
But I do think it's time for Bianca to lose the title.
She had a good run with it at the very least.
She had a good run, and it was better.
And losing
than
to Asuka is
one.
no shame in losing to Asuka.
Oh yeah, of course. There's nothing wrong with that.
Like if you lost to Liv Morgan, you'd look like a piece of shit. But like you lose to Asuka, you're like, all right, okay, we get it. The first qualifiers are confirmed as the 4 runners-up in the Women's Royal Rumble match: Asuka, Nikki Cross, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez. The 5th spot will be decided in a fatal 4-way match between Candice LeRae, Mia Yim. They still haven't figured that shit out, what they want to call her. Piper Niven and Carmella. That's a buy-in match.
Let's talk about Piper Niven. Okay.
Yes.
They really went
Asuka's
into that
look.
and said basically, Dewdrop is dead. That I still don't even know what the fuck Dewdrop is or was, but it should have ended when Eva Marie was let go.
Right. Because I never understood the reference. Was it because she was round and they put her in a blue thing so she looked like a dewdrop? Like, I just don't. Was it all a fat joke that somebody thought was funny? Like, I'm just like Piggy James.
It's very
I just don't know.
Because, in NXT UK, all right, and before she was even in WWE, Piper Niven had some bangers. One against Rhea Ripley and one against Toni Storm.
Oh yeah, she was on. The whole reason she got signed is because she had a brilliant run on the Indies.
They called her the Viper, but you can't really do that when you have Randy Orton and
right, exactly. So Piper is nice, She's actually Scottish, right? So Piper, like Roddy Piper, is fine.
That's why I kind of liked her and Nikki Cross as a team for a while because they're both Scottish.
Oh, for sure.
And it made sense. And Oh, I did want to mention that I'm glad that they stopped with the fucking Sheamus and Drew being called the Banger Brothers. I've seen
that's
that
unfortunately dead
on a certain hub, if you know.
Right. Yeah, that's they finally figured it out.
Sorority thing.
Exactly what happened. Yep, and comments coming in about Piper Niven. We're all happy that including Pat McAfee, who was another surprise, but Pat McAfee was legitimately happy that Dewdrop was no more and Piper Niven is back. I think universally a great choice. Nobody disagrees with. Nobody's clamoring for a fucking Dewdrop run.
That was great that Pat McAfee was kept an actual surprise.
He was, yeah.
A legit surprise.
The commentators didn't know that was happening.
Yeah,
you could tell by Cole. He was stoked.
Yeah, he legitimately FaceTimed with him because he was at a wedding in Indiana or something, and then had to fly into the Alamo Dome.
Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't have Pat was actually, he was standing up and on the table for most of the time anyway. I'm surprised they didn't do a stare down with him and Baron Corbin because of their history.
Yeah,
I know.
Him lead into the 7-second elimination.
But then again, we already took care of that. So I guess, but I don't know. I always like when they reference history of two people.
Right, especially that's the time to do it is in the Rumble. You can go, oh man, they're both in the ring at the same time. Remember when
I'm surprised
that
they
happened?
didn't pull a thing where he got out of commentary, went into the Rumble for a second, and then
I
came
thought
back.
that was going to happen too. I thought they were also going to set up a match, a potential Mania match for McAfee as well, but that didn't happen.
Okay, let me ask
He
you
was
something.
offered a Mania Rumble spot. I mean, sorry.
Oh, and he probably, I mean, he was
was
probably
he?
too
Okay.
jet lagged or whatever.
What
Yeah.
happened? What do you think, and who would be cheered or booed if they ended up doing Pat McAfee versus Logan Paul?
Oh, Pat McAfee would be cheered. I
Yeah.
mean, they might
Yeah.
both end up being by the end of it. They would probably both end up being cheered because I think that would actually be a pretty good match. Like, because I think they both at this point don't need another wrestler. They may still need a wrestler to carry him, but I don't know. I feel like those two guys, or maybe a tag match where they're each on one side or something.
Honestly,
It's clear they both put the work in. So
Oh yeah, it's amazing that guy. You know, Logan Paul. I hate that Logan Paul is as good as he is because there are people who have spent their years training and going to lessons and I mean there are people in NXT in the Performance Center right now that aren't that good, and he just fucking picked it up as like a hobby last year. It's infuriating.
I mean, what if they could do Logan Paul versus Austin Theory too?
Oh, you can hear the kitten purr. Mine hissed at me. Yeah, Austin Theory. Well, I think Austin Theory might be. You know,
Do you think Theory's going to lose the belt at the Chamber?
I don't know. I feel like he might keep it. And because my going theory is that Austin Theory is wrestling John Cena for the U.S. title at WrestleMania. Because I feel like that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He might even come out and say, I beat everybody at the Chamber. There's nobody that's going to beat me. I'm going to do a U.S. title open challenge. And
but if Cena does do that, is it announced before or does Cena come out night of?
Oh,
like the whole Undertaker thing.
Yeah,
maybe he announces it. Maybe Austin Theory after the Raw after the Elimination Chamber comes out and makes that speech. He's offering an open challenge for WrestleMania.
I mean, does Cena accept the open challenge before Mania?
Yes, that's what I think. If they want to, well, they don't really need to sell tickets, man. They got as far. I was listening to a podcast earlier today. They're 2,000 tickets away from a legit sellout for both nights. It's fucking crazy.
Could they do it the way they did it with Kurt Angle leading up to the 2000 Rumble and people pretty much knowing it was Taz coming?
It's Taz. Maybe they'll just drop hints like, you know what I mean? Like one of those things where people kind of know. And
look, if they do Theory versus Cena, okay, I'm okay, and I understand that Theory is probably most likely winning.
Right.
But does it really hurt Theory that much if he loses it either?
No.
Not when you lose to somebody like
not
John
when you
Cena.
lose to John Cena.
Exactly.
You know? In fact, speaking of John Cena, there's a lot of memes going on that, you know, because they said that, okay, so Ray wasn't in it, so there was only 29 men in the Rumble.
Right.
And then there are people saying, oh, but there were 30. You just didn't see Cena.
Yeah, man. So the Rumbles were actually pretty decent. The problem was the middle bit of the show. The women's title match was there, and it really only served
not much to, you know.
It only served to further the Bray Wyatt Alexa Bliss story.
Oh, you know,
Shuffling Liz story and similar artists.
Alexa, stop.
Music.
Alexa, stop.
Did you guys see the thing on Peacock right after the Rumble ended, where there was like a press conference with all the winners of the matches?
Oh, I saw that it was happening, but it was so late that I wasn't going to stay up. But like, come on, man.
It was kind of interesting, and then you know they asked questions. They asked Bray about like Alexa, and he said vague stuff like, you know, I don't know, me and Alexa are probably going to always be connected somehow. You know, just small teases. And then, what did you guys think of that lights out, blackout, Mountain Dew thing?
I like the atmosphere.
Like that was cool. I like the neon shit. I like his mask. It was a cool effect. Honestly, I think what people liked most about the match was the after bits more so than the match itself.
Yeah, the match was
that Uncle Howdy spot at the end after the match was over with the jumping off the
Very
thing.
cool.
right.
That was fucking awesome.
That match is what I like to call Chinese food takeout wrestling. Because in the moment you watch it and you go, "Oh man, that was cool," and then like an hour later you're like, "What the fuck was that?"
Right?
You know what? You know what? I think the fortunately, LA Knight is so good and charismatic that this loss is it's fucking, first of all, it's fucking Bray Wyatt, right?
Yeah, he's fine.
No,
He's
no
fine.
shame in losing to Bray Wyatt, but like I said, LA Knight is so charismatic that he can brush this off and pretend it never happened and just move on. And
He definitely can.
And he'll be perfectly fine.
And I know Steve is probably listening and will disagree next week or will jump in the comments, but I'm so close to being over this whole Bray Wyatt story unless we get more exposition. It
is
first
dragging.
of all, it took so long for him to wrestle his first fucking match. And then, we have to go through this fucking preamble. He's in this spot. It's just a weird thing. He's in this sponsored match. Like, there were one of the podcasts I listened to, Wrestling Observer. One of the guys was like, The Undertaker was never in a fucking Dr. Pepper Hell in a Cell. You know what I mean? Like, it was just it was a weird choice for Bray Wyatt's debut match to be branded with Mountain Dew.
Yeah, and it also makes me think it's like when this match is sponsored by Karate Fighters, or,
Oh yeah, and I understand that, but like, I understand what they're doing. They're making money. It's a brand deal. They're working with a partner. Like, I get it, but like,
but they're done with that partnership now. I mean, that's still going to be a thing, but they're not going to do any more of those matches.
No, I liked the black light. I liked the concept of it. I think that
I love the black light. It was so much better than like the red light.
Oh yeah. Oh no. If it was red lights, I would have turned that shit off until it was done.
Right.
But no, I think it was a good, overall a good choice for the aesthetics of it. And then the spot, even though Uncle Howdy missed the guy by a fucking mile, like it was cool. He flew out of nowhere.
Still cool, yeah.
Right, like you can cover that up in editing and shit.
But it's like the Logan Paul spot with Ricochet. Was that just a one-off spot, and they're going to probably do him versus Rollins, or can you still do him versus Ricochet?
You probably could do him versus Ricochet, but I think
because of one spot. I mean, that spot. It was.
No, I think it
was unnecessary and nonsensical, but it was awesome at the same time.
No, it definitely was. I don't think. Yeah. But I don't think Logan Paul versus Ricochet is a WrestleMania match as much as Logan Paul versus
and
Seth
that's more
Rollins.
of an elimination chamber.
I was thinking I was going to say the exact same thing. It could very well be an elimination chamber match to give Logan a little warm up before he goes to WrestleMania, which would be fine. I would have no problem with them in there. Ricochet's a professional. He can.
I also wonder, are they gonna, because we don't know if Lesnar's going to fight Lashley or Gunther.
I want a 3-way match at this point. I think it would be,
cool.
That would be wonderful.
Triple threat for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, I was going to. Okay. I'd be okay with that.
Because.
And if you want to brand the match, use Big
honestly,
E's,
I don't even care who wins if it's a triple threat.
Honestly, I don't care. Yeah, it's one of those things where you can.
I think everybody wins in that scenario.
No, I agree. I think everybody definitely wins if you do it like that. It would be, and I think it would be a great match because all three of those guys, like Bobby Lashley, has really stepped up in the last few years and kind of proven that he can be like a singles guy and like a top guy. Like he wasn't very good when he first started, and they pushed him too fast, too soon. But now, like he's really settled into knowing what he can and can't do, and he does those things very well now.
Is it weird? Is it weird that I thought that back in those days that Lashley would have fit in better as being the WWE or World Champion more than the ECW champion?
Yeah, ECW didn't make sense.
Like why that whole thing, that really was should have been like CM Punk's night or something else.
Yeah, I think Bobby Lashley is the kind of guy that you should have put in the Intercontinental or U.S. title thing gave him the U.S. title, see
and-
how he handles it, and then pushed him
Yeah,
to the world.
and they
world
did
title.
so, but after the fact, or did that? No, I think they had him. He beat either Kennedy or Finley for the U.S. title back then.
Yeah, I don't remember who. Might have been Finley. Might have been both of them. Shit. U.S. title
Right.
bounces around a lot. The pitch. So we did the pitch black match. The goddamn Hardy. I saw
What
online.
the fuck is that? Who the hell is Hardy?
So apparently Hardy is not a country singer. It's like a rock metal country fusion thing.
because I was kind of in and out.
No, it was for the best because it was right after the women's rumble, before the main event. They had this fucking downer of a segment with a guy called Hardy who was with his band, and it's like a rock metal country. I drink whiskey, but I sing like this thing.
I know it didn't go over with The Office at all.
No, some of the comments online I saw were, this is the worst performance by a Hardy in a wrestling ring since Victory Road 2011. Yeah, people were not kind to this segment. It was, like people were like, I'd rather hear Jeff Hardy sing. Like Jeff Hardy caught a lot of strays in that, but
Yeah,
the sentiment was there that the segment
he's
was
the
not very
low-hanging
good.
branch, unfortunately.
I mean, we've all heard the only song he had that was any good was the Broken Hardy's theme. Every other song by Peroxide Jen is not very good. Sorry, guys. Yeah, and again, comments generally across the internet were very negative. WWE internally, I guess, didn't like the segment. The fucking thing dragged out for so goddamn long, too. Like, I just don't know why. But then we get our main event, Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens for the whatever, undisputed Universal Heavyweight WWE fucking great value Cabela's Chevy
game.
Truck Month fucking world title, whatever it is. All these adjectives they added to it. But anyway, they have this match. It's the same Roman Reigns match we've seen for the last 2 years. He's he's improved. He's another guy that stunk at everything on the microphone. The fucking wrestling wasn't really there. It was until about 2 years ago or whatever, until he got paired up with Paul Heyman. He just wasn't there. And his promo game has really improved. The wrestling has improved, but again, it's the same. I've seen this match with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns before. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that's like, he's fine. The matches are not bad. They're good matches. It's just they're predictable.
Not
to a
great.
Point. Right, they're just predictable to a point.
And Vince, and I know you're with me on this sentiment, in that would it have been so horrible to give Roman at least one clean win in his whole two and a half years?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, and I guess that's the buildup, is that maybe the way he loses to Cody is that he doesn't have that support system. The bloodline is broken up. Blah blah blah. And I hate to keep going back to Cody, but I don't see how he integrates into this even after Monday. And he comes out and he cuts his promo, and I'll get to Cody in a second. But Cody cuts his promo, and fucking Vengeance Day comes out.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so he's got to feud with them a little bit because we've got a whole pay-per-view to go until WrestleMania. So he's got to do something in between. But I don't see how Cody integrates with KO and Sammy and Jay. You know what I mean? I don't see how he comes into this, especially coming in as a babyface. It just seems like it wouldn't happen.
I don't see why he wouldn't be helping Sammy out. That would be an easy.
Well, no, I know he would be helping Sammy, but like, where?
I mean, like that. You shouldn't have seen him on Raw. It should be attack on Sammy by the Bloodline, and that's how Cody steps into the program, is helping Sammy out.
Yeah, and I'm sure that'll happen. They'll probably have Cody on
and
both shows going forward.
Tag match where it's Sammy, Owens, and Cody versus the Bloodline or something.
Yeah, that would be a good use.
Yeah.
That way he's not completely directly opposed to Sammy's push, but alongside.
Oh, real quick, I just wanted to say something a little more about that Hardy thing. So
yeah,
it basically made the Kid Rock thing look good.
Oh boy.
Kid Rock
That-
could have
that
genuinely.
abomination.
If Kid Rock took a shit in the bell end of a tuba at WrestleMania 25, it would have been a better performance.
Wow.
Right?
That's saying something. All right.
I mean, anyone. Oh, so here's a comment here. Was anyone disappointed at the end of the Sammy Uso thing so quickly? I mean, I don't think this is over. I think obviously we get the match at Elimination Chamber, and hopefully you get a resolution at WrestleMania.
You know what it is? It's Sammy wasn't supposed to happen. He's an anomaly.
No, this is a Daniel Bryan. This is honestly, like, I hate to be, recency bias and all that. This might be bigger than the Daniel Bryan thing.
It's kind of like the Daniel Bryan thing, kind of mixed with the Diamond Dallas Page WCW thing.
Yeah. But at least
Yeah.
Cody is a better than Batista being shoved in there. Cody at least
He
There's
could
a
be
story there
this could be a
instead of-
Bautista, and that's what I thought. Thank you, Tara, for that. I do like the. I'm glad you dropped in with that comment because it leads to a discussion here about this whole thing. Yeah, Cody could definitely get Bautista because and I want to throw this out there as a hypothesis. I was reading comments online about the feedback to this show and the feedback of Cody potentially taking Sammy's quote unquote spot at WrestleMania. One of the people said. They have a theory that Cody is being cheered so heavily because there are a lot of WWE fans that don't watch AEW who haven't seen this exact act before that we saw for 3 years straight in AEW. And by the end of it, the crowd was sick of him and booing him. So, like, they think that there's a potential that these fans are going to be real positive on him now. And once he goes out there and does the my daddy, my brother, fake crying, whatever, insincere act, that they're going to get sick of it too. Because honestly, I hate to, I don't want to dump on the guy because it sounds like shit on Cody night, but like, so another comment was like, he seems like a car salesman and the product that he's trying to sell you is Cody Rhodes. Like, it's very calculated. It almost seems like he goes out there and makes like political speeches. You know what I mean? Like very precisely worded.
Okay, let me ask you this then. If they had kept Cody off and not promoted him and kept him a secret and he came out and won, do you think would that change things
I don't see. Part of me thinks that he would have gotten Bautista right there because at 30, him being a surprise, everybody would pop for it and then they go, wait a minute, Sammy's not in this Rumble. This time, with him being announced ahead of time, it kind of
like
softened the blow
poor
of Sammy
Rey
not being.
Mysterio got booed out of the building at number 30, and he didn't
Yeah.
deserve that. But because
he
So I
wasn't Daniel Bryan.
Right. And I think that's the thing they saved by announcing Cody. I think that's what they did. They understood what was going on. They announced Cody ahead of time and kind of telegraphed it with these video packages to soften the blow because they knew there could potentially be blowback of people who want Sammy over Cody. And I mean, dude, as the weeks go on, I mean, maybe even Friday night, who knows? Like, you deserve it, Chance. He got a very good reaction. I'm not going to downplay Cody. He got a great reaction.
Ryan, though,
but like,
I still think that he's a little more well received than Batista was back then.
Oh, for sure. No, he's definitely is right now because Batista was perceived as an outsider, and at the time, nobody knew that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be as big of a hit as it was. Honestly, if it was if Batista came back the next year instead, after he had all the goodwill, like he could have came back at this Rumble dressed as Drax, and people would have lost their shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So he just didn't have the goodwill back then. He was a guy that was like, oh, Batista came in for a couple years and then he ran off to Hollywood and he was never any good to begin with, blah, 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 when he was really actually pretty good.
It was very much like, the whole CM Punk losing the belt to The Rock, and then they telegraphed Cena versus Rock from the previous year. And,
right.
It's kind
of...
I kind of
say
wish they
something.
would have leaned into Hollywood Batista like they did with Hollywood Rock.
Yeah, they did that once for him right at the end there, right
Hollywood
before
Rock
he quit.
was a fucking gem.
He had a good run with Hollywood Rock. I mean, didn't it start with his feud with Hogan? Or was it before Hogan? Where they did the Montreal screw job in...
Oh, it might have
the
been.
third time.
That was
Might
right
have been
around-
before.
That was right around that time. It was like the whole.
It was
you know,
leading into the feud, and he really dug into it after this screw
yeah,
up.
but like the rock concerts and the whole.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm so glad that they referenced that and they did a thing like that of that on Young Rock.
Yeah, that show has the budget and the costuming of a fucking Pornhub video, but it's a pretty decent show. You know what? Like everybody looks like porn parody versions
Yeah,
of like the actual wrestler.
it's
But
pretty bad.
well, did you see the one that they a couple weeks ago? So obviously so there was a character they introduced, Curtis Stone or something like that, and it was Shawn Michaels, but they made him. They couldn't. Shawn didn't sign off on The Rock using his likeness because this was a whole episode about how The Rock and this fictional character based on Shawn Michaels didn't get along. So Shawn probably didn't want to be cast in that light. So they recast
Yeah.
it, changed the name. They kind of made the guy look like they had an African American person of color, whatever person, with like braids, but his braids almost looked like Shawn's hair, and he didn't wear spats, but he wore like a sleeveless jean jacket, and then the jeans that matched. So and like bell bottom ones. He kind of looked. It was like if they were like, okay, we need to turn Mace from Maximum Male Models into Shawn Michaels, and that's kind of what they did. It was very weird. But
It's like if you ordered Shawn Michaels off Wish, and it was a really bad Wish.
I know, yeah, you're like, wait a minute, this is not what I ordered. But
This is even bad for Wish.
but yeah, so they, they own Rock's it's nobody's expecting Shakespeare, from something like that. So it's fun for what it is. But dude, I just can't stop thinking about I think that if Sammy and Kevin challenge for the tag titles at WrestleMania, even if it's something like a TLC match or whatever, like it feels like a step down for Sammy. And it feels like a step down for Jay, because there's so much going on with the bloodline. Jay was all in from the beginning, and he had to convince his brother Jimmy to join. Right? Am I saying?
Yeah,
Is that?
and
Yeah,
I love
you're right.
also the interesting thing is, soon as Sammy entered the whole thing, Jay was the one who initially couldn't stand him.
Right.
And then what happened at War Games got him on his side, and now he's all for Sammy.
Yeah. It's pretty.
I like
It's
the fact
so
that
interesting, the whole thing.
yeah, I like Roman pushed Sammy into the spot. It wasn't a typical wrestling turn where it's like, oh yeah, this is where
Right.
Roman's ego got too inflated that he pushed the issue too hard.
Yeah. Oh, I think, and I like there was, the way that it all happened was kind of a callback to Seth Rollins turning on Roman at the breakup of the Shield.
Right.
The same kind of hit to the back with the chair, the way Roman landed on the bottom rope, all that stuff. But then
I've seen some
immediately
pretty
he gets jumped by
funny
the
memes
bloodline.
about that, like where it says the face you make when you got
When you fall for it the second time.
yeah.
I sent it to the group.
Yeah, man, that's oh my god. But I liked it because the predictable solution was at the end of this match, Sammy refuses to do it, and those guys just beat the shit out of him. In this instance, Sammy stood up. It wasn't just like he declined. Sammy stood up to Roman Reigns for the first time.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say they did it where they did the Rumble, whenever they did the men's Rumble, at this point it doesn't matter the timing of it, but let's say Sammy was involved and did end up winning it. So then it leads to Roman versus Sammy at Mania, which is cool, right? Which is something that none of us would have expected, but now it kind of makes us fans want to see it because of how instrumental and great Sammy's been in the whole Bloodline storyline. And then you wonder, okay, what do you do with Kevin Owens at Mania? I would do Kevin Owens versus Solo one-on-one.
Yeah, I was just thinking that same thing. That would be a great match.
Yeah.
And then you can, do whoever versus the Usos.
You had me excited
Yeah.
for doing the Rumble after, and if throw Sammy in at number 30, that roof would have came off.
I also had proposed, like, I think we all had proposed, like, some kind of storyline where Sammy's in the Rumble and he accidentally wins it, like like he
That would
wasn't
have been fun
supposed
as
to.
well.
And and then that, and then him, and then Roman saying, like, after the fact, like, we expect that Sammy's not gonna, he's gonna step aside,
Right.
and just which would be the exact same thing that happened to Lex Luger and the Horsemen when he won that battle royal, and J.J.
Yeah.
Dillon was mad at him, and they got kicked out of the Horsemen for wanting to challenge Flair, and also the whole thing with the Giant when he got kicked out of the NWO because he won World War III.
Or Randy Orton getting kicked out of Evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's many scenarios. And then you said something about, like, this being like a step down for Sammy and a step down for Jay, but at the same time, the way all this is, the way the focus is on the bloodline, it's almost like, even though these are lower tier titles, these are going to still overshadow Cody winning the world title somehow.
That's, I just, right at the end of the show, as soon as it ended, I was sitting with a guy that trained at the Rhodes Academy, so I think I kind of maybe rubbed him the wrong way, but I just go, as soon as the whole thing happened with Sammy hitting Roman, I look up into my friends and I go, who's going to give a shit about Cody wrestling Roman now? We've got a whole story here. Because I think, to me, if Sammy gets Montreal screw jobbed in Montreal Elimination Chamber, and then they just move on from Sammy to Cody, I think the fans will fucking revolt.
Oh, if they Montreal screwjob them and move on, it's gonna get ugly.
Yeah, I think Cody's going to get Bautista.
But I think the main problem now is, how is it even possible to integrate Cody into this thing without that happening?
I mean, just
like,
he would just have to come to the, like, Kevin Owens and Sammy get the shit kicked out of him on SmackDown Friday, and Cody comes out and helps him, and now it's like 3-on-3.
I'd at least, it'd be something if they, had some kind of like last year when Cody was back before he got hurt. Like, if they back then teased something with him and Roman, back then, and then people forget about it, and then there's at least some continuity with it, or they can go back to when Cody and Dustin beat the Shield for the tag belts.
Yeah.
There's stuff there.
But what if
I think there is, yeah.
To help move along from Sammy, Cody goes, if I win the title, you're my number one contender.
Sure, but then he's not going to win. Like, Sammy's not going to beat Cody. Right after Cody beats Roman, Sammy's not going to win. Like,
but
it just seems like Sammy has to get a big win. You know what I mean? Sammy or Jey Uso need to get a big fucking win at WrestleMania for this to mean anything.
I'm just thinking that would garner some good.
We can't throw out any suggestion, right? I mean, we can't disregard any suggestion at this point, because we've got a long road to hoe here, as they say, on the road to WrestleMania, or the roads
There's
to
still a
WrestleMania.
chance to split the Universal and WWE title, so Cody still can have a WWE title shot and main event one of the nights.
If that's the case, I almost wish they would have split them earlier then.
Yeah, like maybe maybe at the Rumble. I don't know.
I agree there. I'm just thinking of ideas to make it work.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've got a team full of top men, as they say in Indiana Jones. Top men are working on this to figure out where to go.
100 monkeys in a room with typewriters.
That's right. Eventually, they'll. Yeah. Oh my God! All right, well, we're
Oh,
almost
you know
at the
what?
top of the hour here.
I,
Anybody got any
I
final
did
thoughts here?
I did want to say one more thing about Cody, and it's about him in AEW. The whole
Yeah.
thing. My biggest, my only regret with him in AEW that didn't happen, and I'm not talking about him winning the world title there. I don't
Hmm.
care. That's okay, and I'm almost. I think most people are glad that it didn't happen. My thing is, I wish that we would have gotten at some point Arn Anderson turning on Cody because he turned on Dusty and Dustin
Yeah,
at some point in his career.
Yeah,
So,
that
like
that
that
could have
would have
been
been,
like
you
the
know,
last match was his last match was that ladder match with Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Like that would have
because
been the time to do it.
yeah, because like the initial turn on Dusty was when the Horsemen kind of came, right, right
Yeah,
before the
yeah.
Horsemen came together, and then the turn on Dustin was when Dustin was feuding with the Stud Stable, and Arn tagged with him and then turned on him against Terry Funk and the other guys. You know,
yeah. I mean, I think I don't. It would have been a good idea, and maybe that could have been happened. And I don't know. I'm on the. I was kind of thinking about Cody being the AEW World Champion. Um, how he kind of handcuffed himself by losing that stipulation match. And then, if his whole goal is to win the world title, he could have very well done it at any time in his AEW tenure,
I
but
think
chose not to.
yeah, I think he chose not to because he didn't want to come off like think it's almost like why they didn't have Omega win the world
Right.
title immediately or the Bucks win the tag titles immediately because they
Yeah,
didn't want it to come off like the owners were
yeah,
calling
but
the
the
shots.
only problem was there was no resolution to it where like there was always this thing where like, oh, Cody might turn heel. Oh, he's kind of acting like that, and it's like he never really did it, and that's why like he never really picked a direction, babyface or heel. He always kind of stayed in this like Vince Russo shades of gray thing that was like I don't know. Didn't really work in AEW. It's working right now in WWE because he's just a clear cut babyface. And if he was more of a
Yeah.
clear cut babyface in AEW, that could have worked. But I also feel like part of me is like, did Cody refuse the AEW world title because in his mind he always wanted to go back to WWE and he wanted his first
Well,
world
yeah,
title
that's
to
a possibility
be
too.
the WWE title. Like he didn't want to. He didn't want that he didn't want people to go, like you said, oh, he was AEW champion because it was a company that he helped found. And,
I
then it looks better that his first world title is a WWE title. Like it legitimizes it more.
That's a tough call.
Yeah.
You know what? I think if Sami Zayn didn't get so over during this whole thing,
Then it's
then
an easy
people
choice.
would have been uh, more than okay and still cheer Cody because that didn't happen. But because Sami Zayn, because this whole thing happened, it screws everything up. Not necessarily in a bad way. It's just that it complicates things because no one expected this wasn't supposed to work, but it did.
Right. And this, if it turns into a Daniel Bryan or Kofi Mania situation, which it very well could. It has the legs for it. And based on the reception that people have after this,
They could
what happens at Elimination
they could
Chamber, man.
still make it work, but they really if they want to make it work, they got to lean into Cody getting involved in this like immediately.
Yeah, and I think didn't they
They
do something
cannot wait on it. They got to have him
right?
get involved with the bloodline like immediately.
Oh, the other thing. Speaking of the bloodline, I don't know. This is a real
Is
weird
Nia going to
question.
join now?
I hope not. But here's my question for you: pay-per-views in Canada. We've got a couple of Usos with DUI, at least one Uso with a DUI that can't make it into Canada.
Oh yeah, I don't know who it is. I think it's Jimmy.
Yeah, so then Jay can still do the we all think he's a babyface helping Sammy and then turn on him and screw
Yeah.
him thing.
Yeah.
So all
You know
right,
what?
that works.
Though is if they don't do that swerve and Jay actually is out of the bloodline and is a babyface now.
I mean, that would be great. I would prefer that. It would add a much better wrinkle than just surprise he was a bad guy the whole time.
I mean, and then you can go with the route. You don't necessarily have to have Kevin Owens involved, but you could then do Cody and Jay versus Jimmy and Solo at WrestleMania.
Another good match.
Yeah,
And
I
you
mean,
could
there's a
say
lot.
the tag titles belong to the Bloodline, so you just take it off Jay.
And I feel bad for Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens is great, but at the same time, Sammy has overshadowed everything.
Who could have seen that happening?
But also, Kevin Owens has been beaten too many times by Roman Reigns for him to be credible as a challenger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Easily too many.
And so that's why Sammy is coming off more as a threat to Roman than Owens.
I'd agree.
Because Sammy's stock has risen significantly since his involvement in the Bloodline. And again, like I said, this wasn't supposed to happen. But speaking of things that are not going to happen, Lacey Evans getting over is fetch. It's not going to happen.
Oh, that poor
I have
lady.
a fun question to end the show. Where does Roman Reigns go after all this?
He takes a fucking vacation until SummerSlam.
I mean, his next move, not timeline. Like,
all right.
His next? I'm sure he's going to get a nice vacation.
I think that's the intrigue there is that we don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's kind of unpredictable because if he loses the title, then where does he go from there? If he loses to Cody, do we just get the typical WWE fare of 2 or 3 rematches with the guy, and maybe they flip flop,
and I still want the Bloodline to be a thing,
right? And this could be their opportunity to do what WCW couldn't do with the NWO.
I don't know what the status of Jacob Fatu is in MLW right now, but
I've heard his contract might be coming up, so that would be a cool little thing to add. Another wrinkle.
You look at him, and he's what Roman should have been from the get-go.
Well, I think the interesting thing would be is if he came in and tried to, instead of being added to the Bloodline, he tried to take over Roman's spot.
Ooh.
Kind of like Rock and
That'd
the
be
Nation.
fun.
Yeah, so then he could,
usurp him,
right? Like a little
the,
Game of Thrones thing. Yeah, like he wants to be the new head of the table, and he'd have to wrestle all the goons first and build his way up to Roman.
Oh, and here's another thing. So I'm assuming Rock is not. It's not happening. It's not a go.
I mean, it seems like they've moved away from that, and they also reports have come in that Stone Cold Steve Austin has turned down all of the matches that he was offered for WrestleMania. So,
could they still revisit Roman versus Rock for WrestleMania 40?
I think they could revisit it anytime The Rock is healthy. They could do it in SummerSlam or WrestleMania, just depending on where The Rock's career is at.
Busy right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was so funny when that Black Adam movie bombed. We were all thinking, a couple of us online, myself included, were thinking, oh man, this is perfect. His fucking movie bombed. What a way to get him back in the good graces of the public's eye. Come back at WrestleMania and put over your cousin and get points for doing that.
And I was just thinking, I almost feel like if The Rock was involved and it was going to go ahead, that would also soften the blow of people potentially booing Cody as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird that we're, listen, the crowds haven't turned on Cody yet, but we're all kind of talking like it's going to happen. I feel bad, but dude, you just smell it in the air. People want Sammy in that spot.
Yeah, I myself have no issue with Cody ultimately winning, and but the whole Sami Zayn thing throws a wrench into it.
Yeah, it's a captivating story.
It's kind of like, they weren't expecting Hogan to turn babyface during the match with The Rock, but
right. Yeah, and you just have to go with it. And I think
dictated it, and
I think they know, especially if the crowd starts hijacking the show like they did with Daniel Bryan. If they're chanting for Sammy throughout the whole show and shit, it could or chanting for Sammy during Cody's segments, they could send the message really loud and clear. Oh, mark my words, Jey Uso is going to help Sammy. I think so too. I hope so.
I almost wish that Cody didn't win it at this point now, because of
I think yeah.
only because he's potentially going to get booed, and I don't want that for him.
Yeah, it's a potential poison pill for his foreseeable future.
Yo, it could really yeah, I don't know if I believe this whole The Rock being busy story. He was known for a year that they wanted him for Roman. Oh yeah, I don't think it was The Rock being busy. Honestly, I think the thing that my theory was completely misguided. I think he was embarrassed after the Black Adam thing and didn't want to
Oh
go
yeah,
out there and
Maybe, oh yeah, that makes sense. Maybe he didn't want to
didn't he
be
try and
seen.
lie about the Black
the
Adam being successful?
profitability or something. Yeah, there was a whole thing that happened. So maybe the PR
And
team
then
just was like,
and
"Hey, don't do this."
and then you have DC smack him in the face by keeping Ezra Miller of all people and getting rid of The
Yeah,
Rock.
yeah, but I've heard reports that they're gonna clean house. And it's just they're refreshing the DC universe again, and they're
Oh yeah,
getting rid of everybody and recasting people. Like I think Jason Momoa is gonna he's done with Aquaman, but he's gonna be Lobo now.
Yeah, and
that
Um,
would be
they're taking Gal Gadot out of Wonder Woman.
which I think she might have been the one you kept out of everybody. Um,
Yeah, I honestly
honestly,
thought
Henry
she was
Cavill would have
perfectly
been the
cast.
one.
yeah, no, you're right. He would have been. He's the other one you would have kept. Oh, and also, but getting this back to wrestling, uh, James Gunn offered Batista the role of DC's new Bane, but Batista turned it
Ooh,
down. Batista said no because he said if you're going to start a new franchise, you potentially need somebody who's going to be able to play this character for 15 years, and I'm too old. So
Yeah, I
get
mean
a
that's
young
why he's
actor.
leaving the Guardians franchise, and I'm pretty sure Drax is going to die in Guardians
Ah,
3,
oh, you just spoiled it for everybody, including me. I
possibly.
didn't.
But
Maybe. Um, I'll probably forget you said that in a couple weeks. So, but yeah, it was just interesting that Batista like was had the foresight to be like, no, get a young actor and like make a star out of a new, somebody new. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that can play Bane, but
I'll
I couldn't tell
and
you
then
who.
I'll
you know,
say
I mean,
something
Batista's
controversial to end the show.
What's that?
I think Batista is a better actor than The Rock.
Oh, by leaps and bounds. The Rock
Like
had
The
the
Rock,
advantage by being a bigger wrestling star
yeah.
in an era where
The Rock
wrestling
has
was super hot.
one character throughout every movie.
Yeah, he
It's
wears
The
a lot of
Rock.
tan, short
yeah,
sleeve, button up shirts with a lot of
that's
pockets.
fair. That's fair.
Jay walking out on Roman is an indication of Jay wanting payback for Roman versus Jey Uso loss. I mean, it's not just that. I mean, I think the whole thing, right, and that
It
could be
all
the story
started with
too. Is
main
this
event Jey Uso against
exact?
Roman Reigns.
That's that. So if that was imagine if the first one, this whole Bloodline story started with Jay losing, and then it ends with Jay pinning Roman at WrestleMania.
Right.
Does it
Like
make
what if I mean, okay, what if
none of this involves Cody? You notice,
forget
but
Cody and
Yeah.
even forget Sammy. What if Jey Uso had won the Rumble? Would you enjoy that Roman versus
yeah.
Jey main event at
Yep.
WrestleMania?
Yeah, and I think in any other year where somebody didn't catch on fire right in WrestleMania season, Cody's a good choice.
Yeah.
But this
Now,
year, he happened to run into a
yeah,
freight train called Sami Zayn.
yeah. Even though I'm pretty much expecting the swerve to happen and Jey to turn,
Right.
even though I'm expecting that, I almost think it would be more interesting if Jey did not, and he still stayed with Sammy, because then they could just
Yeah.
replace Jey with whether it be Jacob Fatu or whoever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just think there are so many compelling things you can do with the characters that are already involved in this story, and maybe somebody like Jacob Fatu, that involving Cody, like I just don't like it's. See, it's I'm racking my brain, dude. Like just doesn't. It's not organic. Like him and being inserted into it doesn't feel organic.
But like I said, if they're going ahead with Cody, then they need to get him involved with the bloodline immediately. and
Right,
have,
which might be as soon as Friday.
and have it make sense, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually is the harder part, to have it make sense.
Yeah, so
Again,
we'll
like
see.
I
I mean,
said, do the continuity, remind people that the Rhodes had beaten the Shield for the tag belts, and it goes back to that, and get him involved with coming to the rescue of Sammy and Kevin Owens and stuff like that.
yep. I mean, maybe. I mean, that seems to be the prevailing theory, I guess, at this moment. But we'll see on Friday how this is going to continue, and then obviously in the weeks, the weeks as we get closer.
What
But
what would you
Friday is the first step.
how would you feel about Sammy going on to take the U.S. title from Theory at Mania?
I don't
Or
feel
is
like a
that like
step
a
down.
still consolation prize?
It's a
Yeah,
anything
that's
but a match against Roman or one of the Bloodline members seems like a consolation. And even then, the tag match seems like a consolation. But
Yeah, and again, it all leads back to the whole thing that yes, Cody was telegraphed pretty much from a year ago to win this, but no one, but at the time, no one expected Sammy to be this phenomenon.
right, no, nobody expected it. No, I agree. It's
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
all right. With that, I think we went a little. Did some extra innings today. We did OT. Thank you guys for sticking with us. If you didn't catch the whole show, you can always catch the whole stream. You can just rewind it, or follow us on social media at TagMeADate at all the usual places: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Periscope, whatever. YouTube is TagMeADate. You can subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when we go live or upload a new video. It's twitch.tv/War Report, WARREPORT. You can subscribe there as well, and we go live there. We broadcast live on Facebook. We broadcast live on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter/Periscope. All live simultaneously. Tuesday night, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time. We usually go for an hour, 6 to 7. We went a little long today because there's a lot to talk about. If you prefer, you can go back and watch all of our live streams on Twitch and on YouTube. They're archived. And on Facebook, they're archived. But if you prefer an audio version, we have the audio app. Oh, thanks. Always good. Always good to have you guys. In the chat. We appreciate Tara. We appreciate Kevin. Always, popping in with some good questions to get our discussions going, or good comments to get our discussions going. If you prefer an audio version of our podcast rather than the video version, we're on all your favorite podcast apps such as Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is search for Tag Me a Date or the War Report and subscribe. And within an hour of the show being off the air, we'll have our audio version, the MP3 version, right up there on your podcast app. It'll download automatically to your mobile device. You can take it with you wherever you're going. Just be sure that when you're subscribing to the War Report audio version, that you're subscribing to the right one, because there are 2 War Report podcasts that talk about pro wrestling. Ours has been around a heck of a lot longer, and our graphic and the description of the podcast, when you look at it, will all have information about Tag Me a Date. It'll say Steve or Vince or Eric or whatever, or it'll say one of our names. You'll know it's us by the graphic and by the description. So hit subscribe, and you'll get the audio version delivered right to your inbox. And last but not least, I'd really encourage you guys to share the show. Let people know about it. If you have friends who are wrestling fans, tell them about us, because we're just fans, man. We love engaging with other wrestling fans and hearing their opinions, seeing if we're right about Cody or wrong about Cody or whatever it is. So you hop in the comments live like Tara and Kevin, and drop a comment or a question, or just hit us up on social media, leave a comment on one of our posts, and let us know what's up. But the more the merrier. We'd love to have more. So the more people you tell, the more people can enjoy the podcast, and the more we can bring to you. So with that, I think we'll close it out. An hour and 15 minutes. Hell of a show tonight, guys. We hope
We
Steve and
lasted
Kat and
just
Amanda can
about as
come back.
long as Gunther did last.
Gunther, I think Gunther lasted longer, so good for him. We will not be trying to tie Gunther's record tonight. We are going to take off now, but we appreciate all of you. We'll be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time, for another live streaming edition of the War Report podcast. We're streaming all over the internet. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We will see you next